Hello and welcome to yet another episode of The Vending Machine, where app publishers meet their service providers and we spark some straight conversation. Always on the mark, never deathmatch. Well, maybe sometimes we'll see. We're just starting the series. You never know what's going to happen here. And that's the other point, always entertaining. We make it light, we make it understandable. I'm Peggy Salz, mobile analyst, tech consultant, founder of Mobile Groove, and also a senior writer at Forbes and Pocket Gamer.
And I'm Oliver Kern, founder of mobile game consultancy Target Gamers, and we're your co-hosts on today's show. And today, it's all about rewarded ad formats and how they can engage users. Rewarded ad formats is something that we've had for a long, long time.
And it couldn't be more relevant because if you think how the year started out, there was an influx of organics. There was a lot going on in the games industry. You've seen it. I've written about it. And now, of course, you have to rethink things even a bit more. So it's really about diversifying revenue streams. It's about sustainable growth. It's about a lot of hot topics that are a lot of people's minds. So with that in mind, let me introduce our guests. In the service provider corner, we have a passionate piano player who may have found his rhythm rocking the ad space. I'm sorry, Oliver, have to have a pun. He's the co-CEO of the App Group, a mobile ad tech company that also owns Adjoe, where he's the managing director, and both companies are under the umbrella of the global media giant Bertelsmann. So lots to look forward to there. I think I hear some interesting synergy there. So let me welcome Jonas Thiemann.
Thanks, Peggy. I didn't bring my piano, but happy to be here.
Absolutely.
And in the publisher corner, we have the co-founder and CTO of Bravo Games, aka Market Luck, a company specialized in free lotteries rewarding users with real money, which recently crossed the 12 million downloads bar. That's definitely something that we want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And he's also the founder of Gerwin Games, a trivia games company best known for its challenging trivia games, which has been downloaded more than 15 million times and counting. Quite an accomplishment. He's an occasional advisor and always glad to discuss innovation challenges and opportunities. That's why he's here with fellow entrepreneurs. Welcome, Pierre Germain.
Oliver, hello, guys. I'm happy to be here with you.
Great to have you both. And I'll kick it off, Pierre, because, we started to talk about your company. But again, I'm going to be the one with all the puns here. You've got a real winner there. I mean, really, seriously, we're talking about prizes up to millions of euros financed by ads, right? Your players win a lot. They're very successful. But what makes the model successful here? I mean, it's great to win money. That's a draw. But there's got to be a mechanic behind it.
Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned, the first thing is that we are able to offer prizes that can match the actual lotteries that we want to compare with. And now the point is that we would not have been able to do that a few years ago. We can offer this because now the ad model and the ad industry is able to reward ads with real good money. The eCPMs that we can reach today with such formats such as rewarded ads or just video interstitials is just now allowing this kind of business model. So as you mentioned, first thing is that we need to offer prizes that make people dream, like actual national lotteries, but we also need to be able to deliver, which means that the odds need to be also comparable to win. And we've been able to achieve the right alchemy between redistribution, because every game users play costs us money, because there are winnings, and the monetization that we can reach. The equation is very difficult to find, and we need to have a whole bunch of monetization strategies. I guess we're going to discuss a bit. And Jonas and his company is a key part of the equation. Mm-hmm. And that allow us to offer people the same dream they have when they come and expect to become millionaires for free. And that's the big motto of the company.
I think that's a really interesting point here. What I'm hearing is, the market is shifting. There are changes in the marketplace, and you have taken advantage of that. Others with the rise of ad prices, have obviously gone into the whole kind of hyper casual space, etc. But you found like a different model to kind of take advantage of that. I think that's really a very interesting point. As an entrepreneur, you have to see and smell if something changes, where the opportunity is.
So picking up on the point that Oliver made, it is about understanding when to shift your models. Now you have done exactly that. What have you actually achieved? Because as I understand it, you've got a lot of minutes of advertising that users are consuming. I mean, they are hooked on these ads.
Yes, indeed. The thing is, you don't only need to have a number of minutes exposed. You need to be able to find minutes that are paid correctly. And today, ads is just a matter of bidding, and it's all on performances. So even if you have users who see hundreds of ads per day, but you don't get the best of the biddings, then you won't make the money. So you need first to have users exposed. And to answer your question, on average, our users are exposed to more than 30 minutes of ads per day, which is a big amount.
Oh.
But also, we need to be able to offer them the variety, excuse my French, of ads to be able to span different sectors and to be able to have ads that are correctly, decently monetized. Otherwise, since it is based on performance, if you have partners, they will always serve you ads, but they will end up serve you ads at 20 cents per 1,000 of ads, eCPM. And doing that, we would just lose.
So what I'm also kind of wondering then, Pierre, is, how does your retention then overall look like? Can you share something there?
Yeah, I can share with you. Retention number are good. We are in the very good band, which is more than 40% in day one, which is somehow the minimum needed to survive in this arena. But we are not looking for the best retention as this is not the first metric we are looking at. Actually, you may be able to sacrifice a bit of retention if you are able to get more from your users in the early days. So what we are looking at mostly will be rather a number of actions in our game, and probably directly the number of ads that people see. Of course, you cannot fall below the 40%, but you're not obliged to shoot for the highest one. This is what we find in our business model. Some of our very successful game actually don't have the best retention, but people are so engaged at the beginning that they will consume a huge amount of ads, and you get ultimately a better LTV. And also you get a better LTV faster, which means that you don't need as much cash to make the pipeline of acquisition.
So on the UA front then, you were speaking about these kind of engagement metrics rather than, let's say, retention metrics. Does that then also mean that you train the models of let's say, Google and Facebook predominantly also with that information so that they actually send you those kind of players that are exactly engaging? So not just looking at CPI, but
yes,
actually using these events?
This is correct, Oliver. There's so much difference between networks. You can try to get smart, analyze your customers. We noticed that we tend to have better results with slightly older customers. So you would naturally say, oh, I will not make acquisition on Snapchat. But you test and you find out that Snapchat users are actually excellent. So what we learn is that it's good to have an opinion, but its figures are much better.
So we've heard about what you can achieve, Pierre, and we've listened to that loop that I think you've created, a very interesting sort of retention engagement mechanic or loop where you're looking at the number of partners, you have a goal in mind, you test and measure, but you also work with adjoe, and I'd like to understand how that works. But first, Jonas, that's exactly the point here. He's able to achieve this. How does adjoe work?
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Peggy. So adjoe tries a totally new approach to rewarded advertising. We run an ad unit, which is called playtime, that rewards the user for time spent. So not for watching a video or for performing certain actions like in a traditional offer wall, but we purely focus on time spent. Our SDK is integrated for monetization in apps like Pierre's, where users can earn additional lottery tickets by spending time with third-party games. And the big mobile game advertisers work with us to acquire new users on cost per install basis. And maybe just to give you two data points, which might be relevant, we see on the advertiser side that the retention rates adjoe or playtime is able to generate is around 20% higher than on other traffic on average when you look at the 7 retention. And on the monetization side, we see average revenues per daily active user, so ARPDAUs, which on Android tend to be 20 to 50% higher. Let's more say we are able to generate incremental revenue of 20 to 50% higher on top of the existing monetization stack.
So that is significant. I mean, when you hear Pierre talk about what he's able to achieve, is that when you look at your customer base, where is he? Is he sort of like the middle? Is he at the top end? Is this the benchmark, or can you go much higher than Pierre?
So the perfect publisher partner for monetization for adjoe is an app that has high engagement, right? Mm-hmm. For example, we work with social communities that have also very high time engagement per day. People start playing games through us and have a reason to talk about the games in the community. So we re-engage the users, go back to the community, talk about the amazing games they just earned credits for. In Pierre's example for BRAVOLOTO, it's a bit different, but still it's very similar. Users are super excited about the jackpot tickets, want to get more, want to get higher chances to win those. But maybe at some point are very tired of watching more video interstitials. And for Pierre, the eCPMs, as he described, are falling in their user lifetime. So that's where adjoe kicks in to allow users to earn more jackpot tickets in a way which is fun to the user by playing games, opposed to seeing even more video interstitials that would be paid at very low eCPMs for Pierre anyway.
I think also, I mean, the adjoe principle there also is kind of a bit different to what many ad networks do, right? Because by incentivizing and kind of pushing people to kind of spend more time in the apps that they then install, etc., it drives kind of users sometimes over this threshold to actually really get into also another product. And that's obviously also for the advertiser who pays the money to you, Pierre, also very, very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like a major concern or objection to rewarded advertising from a lot of publishers is that they will lose their users and can send the users away. And what we try to do by rewarding the user every some minutes, and not only for one singular event, for example, reach level 20 in an app or just watching a video, is to remind the user every some minutes, hey, you just got a jackpot ticket, you just got some credits, some coins. So the user actually has a reason to go back.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Oliver, I mean, in a different life, didn't you have a similar idea?
Yeah, that was that's a long time ago. I know Jonas for quite a few years because we talked, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago when he was just starting with this idea. I had something similar because we were probably both seeing like the incentivized installs and how they don't really work because they actually have this cutoff point, so to say. And we both felt like, okay, actually, you know, you just need to kind of keep going, so to say, and kind of and that could create like an interesting model. So yeah, we did have some chats about that, and he made it, and I'm really happy.
So it's all about relationships here, and that's exactly what I get back to. You know, service providers, app publishers. It has to start somewhere, and there has to be a trigger. You know, a driver. I'd just like to go back for a moment with you, Pierre. You know, you work with adjoe, but what is the point that you know you're ready to work with a company like his and get the most benefit? Is it a certain number of installs? Is it a certain level of maturity in your games?
Okay. That's a tough question, Peggy. We have various ways to evaluate partners. First, there is a human aspect always. If the guy falls at the right moment, the right place, and can pitch, and they're a startup, and they are hungry and they have something compelling, we will listen to them. If it's a large company, I have a quick hack I do most of the time. I ask them for money. And if they're ready to give us money to get started with us, that's generally a good point, because they will tell us, we will improve your CPM, we will double your your LTV and so forth, and so back and so forth. So we make a quick calculation with what they promise, and they say, okay, pay us in advance. And some say yes, and that's a way to see that they actually believe in what they say. That for us, this has worked well. There are also factors to take into account, which is the stability of the solution. When you work with young companies, you will put in your solution something very critical, which is an SDK. And in the case of Jonas, it's been mostly a human thing. He was, like many ad star company, proposing to increase our revenue and so forth, and it's difficult for them to differentiate. And finally, he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm also the CEO of AppLike." And I remember AppLike, those guys buying half of our traffic in our application that time. This is how we started to discuss together, and this ended up in a restaurant in Paris. We had a very good time, and Jonas could expose his vision. And you know, Jonas, and when he exposes his vision, it's difficult to not to get into the boat and try something. So this is how we got started.
Yeah, being invited in Paris there from the guys was also very inspiring for us to kind of prioritize them and give them also a very like high service level for an early customer, because those guys were really on it, founder driven, being in charge or checking out if the SDK integration is working themselves. So I think that both companies in this early stage of both companies were committed on founder level to make this happen. That was very helpful for sure.
So we heard about what you've been able to achieve, Pierre, you know, but which is great results, but there's always room for improvement. This is about letting people talk to each other about also being very straightforward. So I ask you, Jonas, you know, looking at what Pierre is doing, what can you be doing better?
Yeah, I think that's not a secret. And Pierre and me are working on this for like around 2 years. That it would be amazing to bring this experience from France, they're the market leader in France, to the very big markets, to the US, to Japan, to other countries. And there we figured out together, it's very hard to generate, it's very competitive, it's very hard to generate a decent lifetime value that allows to start scaling user acquisition. And that's something we both, every some weeks, put our heads around how we could bring the Bravo company also to other countries with the help of adjoe, but also maybe by changing mechanics in the app itself. I think if I would have one wish to the Bravo company, it would be let's make US, Japan, UK, and Germany happen together.
You're on your way, aren't you, Pierre? I mean, aren't you expanding?
We are expanding to UK and Germany. We are, and Jonas is mentioning the US. We've been doing a test ride in the US, and yes, this is the big goal, because US, the eCPMs are crazy.
Let's take it to the next level and say, okay, you have a good solid relationship, but there's always, again, room for improvement. What could it be?
I actually have something in mind that I discussed with him. We believe that there would be some room for some kind of a library of offers. Not only I have to display this ad, give me one ad now, but rather my big user wants to have a choice of solution, because now he has some spare time, is quiet, and on the long term, we could make him probably get curious about apps and have a very engaged audience, but have a certain amount of choice.
Oliver, is that increasing in importance now? Because it's interesting he brings it up. I've heard a lot of things in the industry. That's the first time I'm hearing that one.
Well, look, if I have to watch now the 50th time a Playrix ad, you know, I'm like, okay, actually, it's a bad experience for me, really, where I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I'm just going to put my phone away. And that's exactly what Pierre doesn't want. He doesn't want them to kind of put the phone away while they're watching it, because that also reduces the chance of people actually engaging with the ad.
That's a great idea. I mean, it is very true. The times that we're in, and even going forward, it's not just about ad fatigue. This isn't ad fatigue, because you have engaged users. They want to engage with ads. That's fantastic. But they want to have some choice. You want to mix it up. It makes perfect sense.
The time aspect is really key, because the moment where you display them offers is a moment where they are engaged in the game. And when they're finished playing, they will leave the game. Actually, what we would like is a place where they would go spontaneously when they have the time, because they know they can at that moment when they have the time, they could discover games and make for further games that would be for highly engaged users. And probably the problem is that today we monetize people while they are playing, and as soon as they're finished playing, they quit the game.
Yes, if you want to engage people with 30 minutes of ads, there needs to be a lot of variety. You already mentioned that, so that's why you're also working with a lot of partners. But even then, if the big bidders basically flood the markets, and that happens quite frequently, then you are at risk of frustrating your users to a degree, right? And that's what you want to avoid.
Yes, actually.
And maybe to connect to that point, everyone knows that this 5 ads I've seen from one advertiser, and it's following me even on my phone. It feels like that. And this is like still a waste of money, because as Pierre said before, in the end, you see the eCPM in your reporting, but in the end, it's about performance. The network is usually getting paid when the user installs the app finally, and this is then calculated as an eCPM for you in your publisher reporting. What we try to do is more show a list of game offers. The user decides for one game and starts playing this game, which they actually enjoy, opposed to showing the user another 900 impressions of content they get annoyed with. And still, this achieves the same monetization or even higher monetization in terms of ARPDAU for the publisher, without needing to bomb the user with the same ads every day again to reach some $5, $10, $15 eCPM.
I think it's time to wrap up, Oliver. We've heard a lot here. We've learned a lot here. Let's do what I think is the coolest part of the show, just those top tips at the end.
Yes, let's do that. So we'll start with you, Pierre. So if you have some advice for our viewers, what is kind of your top tip when it comes to kind of looking at ad engagement?
Okay. Here I would say that let's start with another mistake I used to make, which is to try to act like, believe that your user act like you would. You probably don't know exactly your user, so unless you are in their brain, I suggest that you test. As an example, my normal trend would be to try to put as little ads as I could, and we used to build our game like this at the beginning, but we discovered measuring that actually people can get exposed to much more than what I would expect. So we've taken as an habit, and I would strongly suggest to do that, to use A/B testing in every possible way. Of course, to test the feature in your game, but also every advertising strategy and monetization strategy that you would have should be A/B tested. You have some free tools available that does that perfectly well, like in Firebase, it comes for free. I recommend that you use that and you test everything, because most of the time you will be surprised.
I think I need to answer like that. Rethink the way what ads are doing for you. Ad fatigue is out there, totally true. They can destroy user experience, but just looking at recent studies, one from Facebook Audience Network, 50% of the gamers tend to use games more because ads are in there. Those that watch ads have longer sessions than those that don't. I think this, from one of the biggest ad providers in the world, Facebook, tells a story, and we try with our time spent model to fit into that. So think ad as a good extension of your game that can make sense. Like there's a TV break, ad break on the TV. And if you involve that thought into building your products, I think now in this crazy times of rewarded advertising, you are on the right track.
Great, excellent. Jonas, Pierre, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on The Vending Machine. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Peggy. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning into The Vending Machine. It's an independent production with Peggy. Thank you for being here, and her Mobile Groove team. We're also powered by the Mobile Growth Association, which means you can find companion posts on the website and the video playlist on the Mobile Growth Summit channel on YouTube.
Absolutely. And of course, we encourage you to check it out, like it, share it, subscribe to the channel. And hey, we aren't live, but we do like to keep it lively here. So if you want to find out more about how you can be a guest on our show, hey, just DM me or Oliver. You can email me at peggy@mobilegroove.com. What about you, Oliver?
Yeah, Oliver at targetgamers.com works perfectly fine.
Perfect. And we'll have more of this in the future, bringing together the two sides of the coin, having a great conversation, learning how it works together, learning how to make a better relationship. So until then, this is Peggy and Salz signing off.
And this is Oliver Kern signing off for the vending machine. Until next month.
Bye.
Bye, guys.